Hello everybody, Pipeman 1861 here. Welcome to part 2 of Beginner's Guide to Pipe Smoking. This video is going to deal with picking out your first tobacco. Alright? I'm going to assume that you have either watched somebody else's video or my previous video on this topic, picking your first pipe. And I'm going to assume that you have your pipe. Alright? If you don't have your pipe, go back and watch that other video of mine. We'll go from there. So let's just say you have a pipe, or you're just wanting to get the two things together, which is, I imagine, what most people would want to do. But you want to pick out your first tobacco to try. Alright? Tobacco is kind of a tricky topic because it's kind of like asking somebody, it's like trying to tell people what a candy bar to pick out. So you've never had a candy bar and you're telling them which is the best one to pick out. It's all up to personal taste. You might like Snickers, I might like Twix or Milky Way or what have you. Mr. Good Bar, fill in the blank. So we're going to, instead of me just telling you what the best tobacco to start with is, which all depends upon your personal taste, we're going to go over the characteristics of various types of tobacco, and then you can make your own decision. Now I'm going to give you a couple of ideas and tips, but that way you can make a more informed decision. Alright? So, whenever you ask most people, if you're starting out pipe smoking, what their recommendation is, for your first tobacco, a lot of people have the tendency to recommend an aromatic tobacco, something that has a topping or a casing on it that gives it a sweet, usually a sweet flavor, and also makes it smell very pleasant. The reason they recommend that is, that you think it's kind of like, let's just say somebody has never eaten anything before. This is kind of a weird way to put it, but somebody's never eaten something before. You're going to recommend a spicy dill pickle to them, or you're going to recommend a piece of chocolate cake. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's sort of the less extreme out of the choices. And depending upon the aromatic, I am inclined to agree. But not all aromatic tobaccos are created equal. A lot of aromatic tobaccos, especially the drugstore type blends, have at least to some people, a little bit of a chemical taste, a chemical aftertaste because of the flavorings used. So, and a lot of aromatics, especially like cherry blends, not all of them, they tend to burn kind of hot, and it's real easy to burn up your tongue with tongue bite with them. So, I'm going to recommend a couple of aromatic tobaccos if you want to start that way. Okay? The aromatics that the Country Squire tobacconist makes, blends up, are exceptional. I'm smoking one right now. It's Tom Bigby, formerly Old Toby. And that is one that I would very much recommend to anybody for their first tobacco if they want an aromatic. It smokes remarkably cool. It's very sweet tasting. It has a very heavy brown sugar topping to it. It's like I've said before, it's like smoking a snickerdoodle cookie. very pleasant. It's not too high in nicotine, so if you're not used to that, it's less likely to knock you out with that. And like I say, at least in my experience, it's very difficult to get tongue bite off of this blend. It's easy to keep lit. Just very pleasant. Okay? So, Tom Bigby from the Country Squire, I think, is an excellent tobacco to start with if you're wanting a sweet aromatic tobacco. They have a few others. Let me see. Trying to think. Seersucker is a good one. That's their kind of a peach cobbler, they call it. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's not as sweet as Tom Bigby, but it's pretty good. And it has a tendency to not bite your tongue, too. It smokes nice and cool and mild. So, check out the Country Squire Aromatics. They're excellent. There's other good ones out there, too. Don't get me wrong. Arrowhead from Paul's Pipe Shop up in Flint, Michigan is a very good one. It has a nice, pleasant vanilla taste to it. Has some different... If you want a little bit of a different twist on an aromatic, that's a good one to get, too. So, aromatics, if you get the right one, are a good place to start if you have kind of a sweet tooth. Alright? Now, if you want kind of a, and this is tricky, the next one I'm going to talk about are Virginia tobaccos. Virginias and Virginia Periques, which are in the same family, but they are different. If you want more of kind of a clean, natural, just kind of a clean, natural, light citrus, hay, honey flavor, okay, is get a straight Virginia. They're very good. They taste great, but they're a little bit trickier to smoke. You gotta sip them. You gotta smoke them nice and slow, because there's a lot of sugar, natural sugar in Virginia tobaccos, and because of this, they tend to burn hot if you don't smoke them nice and slow. Another problem is with them, if you don't smoke them nice and slow, at least to me, again, your mileage may vary, they tend to get a kind of ashy taste to them. So like I say, nothing wrong with starting with the Virginia, but bear in mind there's a little bit, they're less forgiving by and large than some like the aromatics I just mentioned. Okay? So that's another little thing to think about. Virginia Periques is, of course, a blend of Virginia tobaccos and Perique tobaccos. Alright? Perique tobacco, I should say. There's only one variety, Louisiana, that I know of. And they are exceptional. Perique has sort of a peppery flavor to it. And when paired up with the Virginia, especially when they're aged together, it gives you a really nice, I don't know exactly how to describe it. They complement each other very well. That's the best way I think I can say it. You got to be kind of careful with Virginia Periques, though, because Virginias by themselves are actually a little bit higher in nicotine than some of the other tobaccos. Medium in nicotine, and Perique is extremely high in nicotine. And depending on how the proportions of Perique to Virginia, they can kind of set you down on your rear end. If you're not careful, they can get you dizzy and sick to your stomach, especially if you're just starting out. So, if you get like Orlick Golden Sliced is a good example. The Kringle Flake, the Christmas Sutliff Kringle Flake Christmas tobacco. Those are both Virginia Periques. Straight Virginia, 4th generation, 1855. Cornell and Deal, Yorktown. There's many others, but those are the ones that come to mind. So that's Virginia. They're very good. They have a nice clean flavor, but you have to be a little bit more careful smoking them because they can bite you with heat and the nicotine. Let me think. All right, so the next one we're going to talk about are English blends. All right, now English blend is sort of traditionally defined as a tobacco blend that has a pretty good amount of Latakia in it. Just because it's not an English blend doesn't mean it doesn't have Latakia. But if it's an English blend, pardon me, it has Latakia in it to some extent. Usually also has Orientals. I'm not going to get into the fine details of that, Balkan blends and English blends, all that stuff. But Latakia, the characteristic of Latakia is it's very smoky. If you think of a campfire, sitting in around a campfire and the wind changes, you get a face full of wood smoke. That's kind of other than the burning of the eyes, that's a good definition of how, I can't think of what I'm trying to say. It's a good way to describe, it's a good description, there we go. A good description of Latakia. It's very smoky. The way they process Latakia, they take the leaves of tobacco, they hang them up in barns, and they light fires in the barn underneath the hanging tobacco and let the fires smolder. Basically, they smoke the tobacco, like smoking meat, and it cures the tobacco and gives it its unique flavor. Now, to me, Latakia is kind of, that is very much up to personal taste. A lot of guys absolutely love the taste of Latakia. A lot of guys love the smell of it being smoked. I would liken Latakia more into the cigar. If you've ever been around somebody smoking a cigar, it's a lot closer to a cigar smell than a pipe, like Virginia tobacco or aromatic. It's a much heavier smell. And it's not a smell, especially at the room note of it, it's not a smell that many people appreciate very much. It has a pungency about it, but it has a very good flavor. So a lot of good English, like Seattle Pipe Club's Plum Pudding, that's a famous, well-known example of an English blend. Kind of heavy on the Latakia. Strauss Tobacconist in Cincinnati or Florence now. Strauss Tobacconist's private stock mixture is a heavy English. Private stock aromatic is heavier still. Early morning pipe from Peterson's Nightcap Tobacco. They're all English blends. All right. Now, English blends are very low in nicotine. At least Latakia is low in nicotine. The smoking process drives a lot of the nicotine out of the leaf. But the smell and flavor of it is so heavy that it can upset the stomach a little bit if you're not used to it. All right. I would not. The nice thing about Latakia, though, is it burns nice and cool. So it's a two-sided coin. It may not be a bad first pipe tobacco, especially if you are coming from smoking a cigar, because that would not be near as bad of a transition as far as the smell and flavor, say, to aromatic. But if you're first starting out, feel free to try it. Nothing wrong with that. And it's kind of hard to get it to bite your tongue, but the smell and flavor, you may find, at least at first, that it's not to your liking. I kind of grew into English blends. I didn't care for them much at first. Now I find that I do like them quite a bit. On occasion. Don't like them all the time. But okay. Another type of tobacco that's often in English blends are Oriental tobaccos. And to be honest with you, there are fellows who can, they're more of a floral, Oriental tobaccos are more of a floral note. I'm not, my palate is not developed near enough to be able to tell the difference. I'm trying to keep this simple for folks. So, and that right there, those 3 or 4 divisions, those are your bare basic divisions of pipe tobaccos: Aromatic, Virginia, Virginia Perique, and English. Okay, there are a lot of little subcategories that you'll get into. You can get as fancy, as in depth into it as you want, but those are your various types of tobaccos and the basic characteristics of each. Okay, and now this is the most important thing that I can say. Just because everybody is raving about a specific type of tobacco does not mean that you're going to like it. And it doesn't mean you have to like it. Okay? For example, I tried Seattle Pipe Club Plum Pudding. And I mean, it's pretty good, but I don't think I'd buy it again. It's just not that great to me. Other people wouldn't be without it. So, but just because somebody says that, oh, this is the best stuff in the world, it doesn't mean it's going to be great to you. Pipe tobacco is just like any kind of snacks or food preferences or anything else. Everybody has different tastes or different palates, and they'll all like different things. But me, myself, okay, I love aromatic tobaccos, good ones. I've never found the Country Squire aromatic that I did not like. Not tried them all yet, but I've never found one I don't like yet. So, I would very highly recommend the Country Squire aromatics if you're just starting out. And primarily if you love like sugar cookies or snickerdoodle cookies or intensely sweet things, I'd very highly recommend Tom Bigby to start out with. But it's one of those things where you just have to try a bunch of stuff and see what you think. My goal for you as a new pipe smoker is to hopefully make your first time as pleasant as possible, so maybe you'll want to keep going. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. Next video I think I'm going to make is how to pack and light your first pipe, and the basic way to smoke it, and we'll go from there. Anyway, everybody, I thank you so much. This is Pipe Man 1861 saying goodbye, good luck, may the good Lord take a liking to you. I'll see you all again real soon. Thank you, everybody. Happy smoking.